Greetings, everyone. This is Jed Schlackman. I work as a holistic counselor and energy healer. For this video today, I'll be talking about exercising our energy bodies, including our physical body. Our physical body is just a layer of energy. It's not separate from our mental, emotional, or spiritual energy fields or aspects. And here as human beings, part of our purpose or our soul's journey is to work with all of the bodies to kind of exercise each of them, to master using each of our bodies. In that way we become a more complete, a more whole, a more experienced being. So we'll go through kind of the structure, architecture of the energy bodies, and then go into some ideas about what we can each do in our lives to develop the energy in each of those levels. Each of us tend to have certain aspects of our energy field or system that we come into our incarnation with more adept at working with. So some people are very skilled emotionally, some are skilled physically, some are very mentally adept, some are very spiritually adept. It's kind of unusual to find someone who's really well developed in all of those areas, who has all of their bodies or energy bodies kind of fully activated and developed. So we all have some areas that we could work on developing more, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after I review what these energy bodies are. I'm going to present some images from a book just as a basic reference. So this book here is the Encyclopedia of Energy Healing, and it talks about many different healing modalities, but it also gives some nice images of aspects of the energy system. So the chakras, the subtle bodies, the acupuncture meridians, etc. So in the book, on the section speaking of the subtle bodies, you can see this here, subtle body energies. It looks at this continuum of energies, and it speaks about the idea of vibration. So the slowest or densest layer of vibration is our physical body. Then as you kind of go up in frequency, as the vibration speeds up, as it goes faster, as it becomes less dense, you come up to what they call the etheric body. And in most metaphysical teachings, the etheric body is seen as kind of an electromagnetic information field and blueprint for the physical body. So it's sometimes called the etheric double, since it would be like the blueprint or image or template for your physical body. So it's very closely connected to the physical level, but it is on a subtle energy level that people are usually not able to perceive with their physical senses. Then beyond the etheric body is what's called the emotional body, which is also related to the astral body, the layer of your energy that's believed to project out of the physical plane when people have out-of-body experiences or astral projection. Sometimes dreams or near-death experiences could involve the astral or emotional body. So that would be the next layer or frequency range of energy beyond the physical and the etheric. Then after you pass through that level, you come to the mental body. And the mental body is the layer of energy that contains our thoughts, our belief systems. So it's very much connected to the mind, to our thinking, but it includes both our conscious and subconscious thoughts and belief patterns. Beyond that is what's usually referred to as the spiritual body. So the spiritual body, in terms of frequency or vibration, it's the least dense, it's the fastest vibrating or highest frequency form of energy. Now, if you think about physics, there's the relationship between frequency and wavelength. So the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength. The lower the frequency, the longer the wavelength. So that's why things here on the physical plane appear to be solid, because that wave is going slower. So it's a longer wave, so you're able to actually see it kind of crystallized. Whereas something at a very high frequency, the wave is going so fast, you're not able to perceive it stopping in place somewhere. It's on that higher frequency range. People often use the analogy of water, where water frozen is ice, it's very solid, it's not moving. Then when you add heat, you increase the temperature, you raise the frequency of that energy, it becomes fluid or liquid. So you have liquid water, and liquid water is flowing. So it's not solid, it's not stuck in one place. It's in motion, but you're able to perceive the water in motion, whereas when it's ice, it's still vibrating atoms, but it's so slow it appears to be solid. And then of course if you boil water, it becomes vapor. The steam rises into the air, and you're not even able to see it anymore because the frequency has become so high that it's not observable with your five senses. So the same principle applies with energy fields. The denser it is, the more easy it is for us to perceive it physically. The lighter, the less dense, or the higher frequency, the shorter the wavelength, the less likely your senses could perceive it. But it's still there, that energy still exists. It's just in a higher frequency, higher density level. So I hope that kind of gives an understanding of how energies work, how they function, why we can perceive things in the physical range, and why we don't perceive things in the spiritual range unless we've really developed our sensitivity more. So people that are very physically developed and focused on the physical level, on their body, on physical exercise, things of that nature, but who aren't tuned in to their spiritual self, who don't do meditation, who don't do breath work or energy healing, who don't study spiritual principles or texts, they're less likely to perceive things on a spiritual level, or at least less likely to pay attention to things that come through from a spiritual level. So their intuitive capacity isn't as well developed as someone who focuses more on spiritual activities. So I'll show you a few images from this Encyclopedia of Energy Healing book. So first they have an image which is meant to show the etheric body just around the physical. So that's kind of giving you this idea of this energy that's very close to the physical form. Then next it's going to show the emotional or astral body, and the mental body. So you can see these images. So those are showing the emotional, mental, and spiritual fields or bodies of energy. And you could see those extend pretty far out, pretty well beyond the physical form. So if you're a person who does energy healing or spiritual clairvoyant type work, and you're perceiving that energy field in some way, the further out away from the body you're perceiving or sensing things, the more likely it is that you're tuning in to the spiritual level rather than perhaps the emotional or etheric level. So that's kind of a way to visualize or image these different energy bodies. Now I'd like to share a little bit about how we can develop them, how we can kind of bring more balance and wholeness to ourselves so that we're not kind of stuck, focused just in one level of our being. So our physical body needs attention. We want to nourish it. We provide healthy food. We do different exercises and forms of movement which naturally get energy moving into our physical body. So physical exercise kind of stimulates this flow of energy coming in toward the physical level. So it nurtures your physical vitality, your strength, your stamina. So to maintain the physical body and to be physically healthy, you do things to exercise your physical body. That could be sports, it could be going to a gym, doing aerobics, walking, bicycling, doing yoga, doing Tai Chi, dancing, anything that brings some motion or movement to your body. Those are all forms of physical exercise. And anything that kind of gives some stimulus to the physical body. It could be some form of touch, massage, acupressure, different forms of energy applied directly to the body. So if you have some instrument that creates vibration on the skin, you could use coldness or heat. So there are people who do cold packs and hot packs, who do ice baths. So all of these things are kind of stimulating energy coming through your physical body. And of course, you want to be mindful of your health state, of your ability to use any of those physical exercise methods or stresses. You can overdo things sometimes. So you want to be aware of what's the optimal intensity or level of exercise to support your physical body. You may need to start kind of slow initially, and then as your body builds stamina, as it builds up the ability to respond to those forms of exercise, then you might do some more. So be aware of the importance of your physical body. It's part of your human experience, and to function at full capacity in your human life, you'll want to have a strong and healthy physical body. If you don't, if you were to just be very intellectual or very spiritual, but then you become physically weak and ill, you won't be able to accomplish perhaps all the things that you might have set as an intention before coming into your life. You might limit your expression here as a human being. So you want to have at least a certain amount or level of physical health and vitality to exercise your full potential in your life. This brings us now to the emotional level, we think of our emotions as often connected to our relationships, our interactions with other people, with animals or pets. So emotions are very much connected to what we're feeling about other people that we connect to, and also how we feel about ourselves and what's happening in our life. Do we feel positive about ourselves, or are we feeling ashamed of ourselves or embarrassed with ourselves? So all these different emotional factors that are there. To exercise your emotional level of being, it is important to have interactions with other people, with different groups. Interactions with nature and animals can also assist you on an emotional level. You can also connect with different forms of media or art, different forms of expression. So music and art, theater, these are all things that in some way stimulate or activate our emotions and give us some experience and skill in processing emotions and in using emotions to create things in our life. Our emotions are like a magnetic energy, so they, in a sense, pull or attract things into our life experience. People often talk about the law of attraction, and part of attraction is the emotional energy. So the stronger the emotional energy or frequency, the more momentum there is for something to be created or manifested. So whether you have a strong, what you could call positive or negative emotion, it's going to help manifest things in life. So whether you love someone or you hate someone, in some way you're attracting that person to be there in your life experience. So be conscious of your emotions, of how they are affecting your life experience, of how they're contributing to what's manifesting. And as you become more conscious of your emotions and that feedback, then you can start to be more conscious and mindful of what's creating your emotions, of what's feeding into your emotions, also of the thoughts and beliefs and values and ideas you have that foster those emotions. So it gives you more insight, more feedback really about yourself, about your own identity and who you're choosing or believing yourself to be. And that's a good segue leading us toward the mental level. We have our mental body, and that's our thinking capacity, our ability to analyze things, to take information and gather it together and process it, to use reasoning, to have deductions and inferences. So it's kind of the more scientific form of our mind and cognition, where we seek to understand things using mental processes. We also form beliefs and ideas, so we're constantly thinking about and analyzing our life. As human beings, many of us have become somewhat conditioned to overanalyze, to overthink, to develop this mental body at the expense of putting attention toward our other bodies. So we might be reading, we might be watching videos all day and forgetting to exercise, forgetting to meditate. We might be isolating ourselves and not interacting with other people. So it's actually common in our current society to overdo the mental body development and neglect other parts of ourselves. But of course, there are also many people who neglect the mental, who don't put enough attention into developing critical thinking skills, into reading and understanding things. So it's valuable to have those skills. Of course, they work best when they're balanced or integrated with the other aspects of our being, when we're able to also connect to our spiritual awareness, our intuition, our feelings and emotions, so it all really works together. If you want to exercise your mental body, there are many mental activities you can engage in. So reading and studying and researching, those are all mental activities. Anything that develops mental skills, so it could be visual skills, so doing visual kinds of puzzles, word games. So there's many ways we can exercise our mind. There are many different cognitive skills. So it could be mathematical skills, it could be verbal skills, even learning music or artistic skills. Those are developing the mind in certain ways. So be conscious of that, of how well developed your mind is. Appreciate all of your energy bodies, including the physical one, which is just the denser energy. And this brings us now to the spiritual level, your spiritual body, if you want to refer to it as a body. It's really a vibrational energy field coming from the highest frequency ranges or realms. So the spiritual realm is where we are connected to other spiritual beings, ultimately to the universal field or universal consciousness, what you could call God, the Source, Great Spirit. So that spiritual level can be developed in a variety of ways. Anything that helps you activate your intuition more. So it could be focusing on your dreams, on visualization, on meditation. It could be working with energy, so perceiving the energy body, doing things like breath work or Reiki, doing different prayers or spiritual healing methods. You can also develop the spiritual body or spiritual layer by going into altered states of consciousness. So it could be deep meditations, it could be astral projection, it could be having experiences using psychedelic substances. Those are all kind of projecting you further out beyond your physical form, more into the deeper layers. Of course, that includes your emotional and mental bodies, but at the deepest level, you can be accessing the spiritual body or spiritual realm. So there you might connect with spirits, with beings from higher planes of existence. You might connect with spirits of those from your family who've been deceased. So there's many different layers or aspects to the spiritual planes. And psychic development methods are ways of developing that part of your energy field so you're more skilled or able to connect with those forms of consciousness that exist on the spiritual level. There's always an aspect of yourself that's already there, that already exists in those spiritual dimensions. But while you're focused on your human life, you're usually not so conscious of that greater or deeper aspect of yourself. So it can take some practice intentionally shifting the focus of your consciousness or your state of consciousness to be able to tune in and develop the spiritual part of you, or a spiritual body, at least to develop it while you're connecting with these other layers as a human being. So it's kind of a unique opportunity, in a sense, to have a human life, because we are working kind of simultaneously on all these different layers of energetic expression. So we have that core spiritual essence, but then we're also developing the mental abilities, the emotional energies, as well as this physical form operating in a physical environment. So it's quite challenging to develop on all those levels. But as human beings, we've taken up that challenge. We're kind of pushing ourselves as souls to develop to this full extent. It's been said by some that this is kind of the leading edge of creation, to have this human experience where we have the physical form, the emotions, the beliefs, as well as the spiritual source that we're always connected with. So I commend each of you for being here, for having this human life and taking up that challenge. I hope that this video has given you some ideas about areas where you can develop yourself further, where you can exercise each of those energy bodies and be more complete or more masterful as you express your potential here in your human life. For those that are exploring holistic health, spiritual topics, and other aspects of your human experience, I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. You'll find different references and resources on healing. I post some of the events I offer there and information about private sessions. For now, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.